before you say anything, I know there's an E at the end of develop. I was just pointed out the other day. I have to change it. I just haven't had time. Don't hound me. Don't hound me. The rule of thumb is a great writer has a great editor. I just so happen to not have an editor.
You're your own editor. Yeah. That's the problem.
I already have dyslexia. To me, it looked English to me, you know. What's up, Paul? How you doing, man? Thanks for coming on the Right Mindset to talk to me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing just great.
Good. You know, for anyone who doesn't know, Paul and I met back in the day. We had the same madam, and we we found ourselves not enjoying our jobs, and we said, hey, why don't we get out of here? And he's like, what am I going to do? I'm a musician. It's like, we're going to play until we make it. And so now we're carpenters, and
not too far off.
No, I know Paul, I think I've known you since at least early 2000s.
Yep. At least 20 years, if not more.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I know. Time sped right by, but we were in the same circuit, playing at Lemoore and a couple of places together.
Yeah.
There's some fun times for sure.
Yeah. It was when we could sit and stand without making noises.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we turn into old Jewish gentlemen like, kick it up.
I actually make noises while sitting, thinking of getting up.
Right? Like I'm dreading the next move. You're not alone.
I'm gonna trip and I'm gonna fall and hurt my ankle. Maybe I'll just stay here a little longer. Why do I gotta get up? You know? But yeah. So 20 years. Wow. And in that time, you have written many a song.
Yes.
You know, and not all of them rhyme, which is a good thing, right? Lyrics don't always have to rhyme,
right?
Though it is a crime if you don't get that chime to work out
all the time.
All the time. He said time as in the spice, not the
yes. Yeah. Play on words.
Yeah. We didn't double up on words there. We but now, you know, that's why I had you come on, because I'm like, you know, you're a writer, even though you're not writing novels or screenplays, and I like people to see the different variations of how the writer's mind works, because being a lyricist is being a writer. And before we really get into your lyrics and stuff like that, you know, my first question is, do you feel writing lyrics is the same as writing poems?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, and why? Because I agree with you, but you know,
that it's a great question, and it's a really great way to start off recognizing the difference, because lyrics to songs can be poetic, and sometimes poems can be lyrical. And for me, when I studied poetry in junior high school and college, you're given a set of rules to make your poems interesting. So there's devices that you would use, like alliteration, repeating the same types of sounds to give you a pattern of. So, for instance, I like to use F's and S's to give you this pattern within a line that is soft and fluid, as opposed to using harsh consonants, which gives you a percussive effect. So in poetry, you use those devices to create a flow and a rhythm, where rap and hip hop lyric writing is much more similar to poetry, because you want to have those same types of tools used. So poetry relies, it's its own animal, and it relies on those devices to create rhythms and patterns and flow. Whereas lyrics, you already have that in the music. So you can add those elements to reinforce what you're trying to write lyrically. You can use poetic tools. But lyrics are their own animal because they're integral to the music. For me, when I write music, write lyrics to music, the first thing I do is I listen for shapes of words in the sound of the music. and that directs me towards a topic, because I'll listen to the guitars and the drums, and I will hear not necessarily words, but I'll hear different vocal sounds, and then I'll kind of put them on paper until words start to form. And
Are you
once I
wait, let me just, so we can kind of like get into it a little bit. Are you saying that you're not necessarily creating words to the music right at first? You're creating rhythms or flows of sounds?
It's mostly my impression, almost like looking at a painting, like a watercolor painting of a Monet of something, where you'll get an impression of a word.
Hmm.
So I will hear words pop in and out as I'm listening to an instrumental piece of music, as
Okay.
I'm writing. And then once those start to slowly come into shape, I'll get an emotional feel from the way the music feels, and that in combination with what words are kind of popping out of that molasses, it starts me on the path of a topic. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So then I have an overview of like, okay, this is what the song is about. Then I will use poetic devices like alliteration and some, rhymes. I like to rhyme sometimes, but I don't like it to be a rule.
Hmm.
And I don't like to follow set in stone rules, where some poetry, like a haiku, you have to follow a certain pattern. Otherwise, you break out of it's no longer,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
just a very weird poem.
right. So there's things within when you're writing lyrics, you can be very literal, which I don't like about pop music. Um,
Hmm.
it has a tendency to be very direct and just spoken like I'm talking to you now. And that's like what a Taylor Swift kind of does, where it's this is what happened in my life today. And that to
Or
me is
I'm bringing sexy back.
anything like, well, that's just fun pop music. So I'll give that a pass. I don't mind something that's it's if it's like just completely like, hey, this is fun and that's all it's supposed to be, that then I'm okay with it. But
Yeah.
if you're passing it off as art and you're just there's no nuance to it,
Yeah.
I have a problem with that, because I feel like really good lyrics are vague enough to leave some interpretation for the listener. And I feel like if you don't have a give and take and a push and pull between you and the listener, it's just masturbation. You want to present a story, convey an emotion or an idea, and you want that to resonate with your listener. And I
So, if I may, what you're saying is you don't like when it sounds like masturbation. You would rather them play around with
just
subtext.
tease around it a little.
Yeah, tease around. You want to shuffle it through the fingers of melody and allow it to stroke your emotions,
Yeah,
uh,
that's exactly what I
while
was saying.
while pulling it to a crescendo that comes together.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Um,
Very, very
but
subtle.
but more important, alliteration is as it be construed. Does it? Oh, and I messed up. I put it after D. I was trying to do some alliteration there. I was going to ask you what it was by using alliteration. Um, no, I kind of want to kind of dive into some of the ideas, because you are also not just a lyricist. You're a singer. You're a song. You write songs. You're not just someone who comes in and you know does a vocal line and says, "All right, let me put some words to this." But do you find yourself often or occasionally finding words that best work with your vocal style, and you'll choose that word over the quote unquote art of it, because you can do something melodic with it with your vocals? Do you find yourself doing that?
I don't think it's a conscious decision, but as the melodies start to present themselves with the words that I'm choosing, there's certainly sticking points where certain vowel sounds aren't going to work on certain notes. So you can cheat around like high notes. Instead of saying E, you would say A, or even I. Sometimes you can substitute a vowel sound that will work at that pitch. But there are limitations to what sounds good on what note. Certain vowel sounds do not sound good higher up. You can't go in a screaming tenor.
Yeah.
It's got to be more like, "Ah!"
I mean, you could, but it's terrible.
It's terrible.
For anyone listening, what he's talking about, it's a very famous example, is "It's gonna be May," and
Yes.
that
Yep.
that's
But that to me is like, it's an affectation when these younger bands, everything is May, not me, and it's more like I'm in the club of punk music, you know, PONK, and I don't like that either because it's just like you're wearing this little sign that says, "Oh, I'm a young punk pop." I don't like that either.
Yeah.
May,
I went through choral class, and now I'm a punk guy. So,
right? Uh,
like, we know the Ramones. None of them went to musical class, and we appreciate that kind of punk,
yes,
you know. But
that's the real thing.
I was just about to sing one of their lines, but everything went blank because their songs are so quick and short. I can't remember them. But
I think everything went blank is certainly a contender for a Ramones lyric.
yeah,
Teenage lobotomy, everything went blank.
yeah, that's funny. Um, now, uh, were you always interested in being a lyricist, or was that just something that's kind of fell into place? Like, I didn't always want to be a vocalist, but because no one really sang around me, I kind of fell into being a vocalist, which meant I became a lyricist, which meant I became, I had to create music around that. What was your kind of journey into becoming a lyricist, and was it conscious? Like, you were like, this is what I want to do.
No, it wasn't conscious at all. I mean, I think, as a young man, I had a really rough time in grade school because I was overweight and I was constantly bullied and made fun of. So there was a sense of isolation for me as a young teenager growing up. So I always wanted to be a guitar player. I was into Kiss and I wanted to be Ace Frehley. Um, but writing lyrics didn't come to me until like lyrics started touching me and resonating with me. So some of the first experiences for me were like the Who, songs like Behind Blue Eyes. Um, they had an effect on me because they were like, oh, I kind of, I know what this feels like. When this fist clenches, crack it open like that to me, like I started to, um, just lyrics started to mean more to me. And so as I started to appreciate lyrics, I started to study poetry because that's a logical connection. It's like, well, if I like lyrics, I'm going to like poetry. And when English class started studying poetry, I started connecting the dots. I'm going like,
Mm,
oh, so I could use this writing a song as well, and trying to understand the difference, the limitations of poetry, and the complete freedom of lyrics, but trying to make lyrics more effective
yeah.
using those techniques are how many hundreds, if not thousands of years old. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason Shakespeare
Who?
sounds the way, right? It's a reason it sounds the way it does. It's extremely complicated, those patterns and the way he had to kind of cheat and shorten words to make them fit iambic pentameter. It's like
Oh,
the
yeah, 2 households,
rhythm,
both alike in dignity, and fair
right?
Verona, where 2 2 households, yeah.
Yeah. So that, like, as a hard rock progressive musician, poetry started making more sense to me. And
Mhm.
then the older I get, the more I started appreciating, like Neil Peart from Rush, like for such a, kind of self-indulgent, virtuosic musical outfit, the lyrics were at an equal level for me. Like his writing, and especially from the drummer, when you don't think
Yeah.
of the drummer being the lyricist, here's a guy who read books, he
Who?
read books, and it showed like his stuff on uh Permanent Waves was one of the one. Entre Nous was a song that I felt to be really kind of sweet and sentimental and romantic. And Entre Nous in French is between us, just
Yeah.
between us, and he's talking to his partner about their relationship. And as
Mhm.
a young man in eighth grade, like that, again, it resonated because I imagined myself in an adult relationship and how that might feel.
Yeah, it had a
So,
certain je ne sais quoi to it.
but plus ça change, plus,
Yeah.
plus c'est la
"Oh,
même.
oui! Parlez-vous français? Yeah.
The more things change, the more they say the same.
Yeah, french
I
fries?"
I think, it was a gradual, introduction into it by way of music being so pure at that time. Like, I didn't know how music was created. I didn't know how the guitar parts or what amps they used or what production techniques they used. All I knew was this song had an effect on me and moved me emotionally, and the lyrics were a big part of that. So the texture of the music and the words together really gave me some comfort when I was really upset and isolated.
Yeah.
So that the more that affected me, the more I wanted to do it.
Yeah,
And
and,
it took a while. It took a while to get there.
and well, it should. I mean, art in itself is an emotional journey for the creator, but it's also an emotional journey for those who are partaking and listening or
Exactly.
experiencing it. Now you said a couple of things about how you decided the obvious route was to jump to poetry. So does that mean, and we've already clarified that poetry and lyrics are not the same. However, because you went that route, was your first dive into lyrics? Did you fall into the poetry style of lyrics at first before you realize, wait, I can act, there's actually something different and more to this?
That's really interesting. I've never thought of it, um, looking back at it. I think I separated them right from the get-go, and I started writing poetry very young, and it wasn't good poetry by any stretch, but I felt, a lot of it was kinda like just stream of consciousness, and it was me pouring myself into the page just to get it out. So I wasn't exercising the craft as much as in later years. Like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, me writing poetry was just, it was either like that sing-songy, rhymey, very, predictable, this is what poetry's supposed to be.
Yeah, green eggs and
And
ham.
right?
Which, you know,
Exactly like that. It's kind of very immature. But as I got better and better teachers and I got into college, more and more of them, and and you listen to people like Leonard Cohen talk about taking something and reworking it and looking at it from every angle and reworking it. I used to think like once you get it down on paper, it's sacred and you can't
oh,
change it. It
yeah.
came out of my heart and soul. So there it is, and I'm not gonna futz with it, right?
Which is dangerous
It
for
is so
creatively.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it stifles you and takes you, it puts more emphasis on the initial birth of it than it does on the craft of taking that original idea and polishing it and making it better than just regurgitating your immediate emotion in the moment.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to have that exuberance and to have that freedom to be able to create immediately and just pour it out there with no reservation, because some people get caught in their head and they can't get it down on paper because they're worried about everything.
Oh, yeah, the spelling, the
Right?
grammar,
It's like you got to have that flow first. You have
yeah,
to open the faucet and let that flow out before you can shape. Then the sculpting happens and you shape it and
yeah,
polish it, and you make it work for what your intention is. If it's a poem, you might have rules to follow. If it's a song, it needs to match the way the music sounds. The music, like I get in arguments with so many band members, like, are you even listening to what I'm singing? Because your music that you gave me makes me feel this way. And now I'm singing about something that's deeply personal to me.
yeah,
So you should understand that this is a partnership here. You gave me the song, I'm giving you the story. And for
yeah,
you not to care about that is really hard to deal with when you're in a band. You're like, you should care what I'm singing about because I am moved by your music. And now I'm taking your music and I'm going to try to move other people. And most people are just, I don't care about the lyrics.
yeah.
All I listen to is the drummer. I don't listen to the singer. James
It's like,
Hetfield just listens to the drummer. Like
yeah, right? I saw her across the way, my heart became swelled with love, and no, this is a love song. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love to hate. I love to.
She was my palm. Okay. That's why they always hold their palm up,
Right?
because it's either that or
I
holding an
rock
invisible
orange.
apple.
My angry orange.
No. That's funny. Um, now I'm kind of curious because of what you're saying. I'm paying attention, which is important in an in an interview. So you discovered your interest in poetry and writing in high school, and you developed a craftsmanship of it in college. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just what I do with lyrics. I sort of create my lyrics as a story with a beginning, a middle, and end.
Mhm.
Was that something that was a conscious decision when you were writing lyrics where you thought, am I creating a story? Or did you focus on a feeling and explored that feeling and didn't approach it like a short story in lyric form?
I did none of those things.
Okay.
For me, it's definitely there's a story there, but it's not linear,
Hmm.
for the most part. I mean, some ideas will flow from a beginning to an end, but a lot of it, the verses tend to be more exploratory, where you're kind of laying down a broad canvas, and then the chorus is emotionally and lyrically something more simple and more to the point and more hook driven. And hooks, I know, kind of a dirty word for a lot of people because it implies a cheapness, but for me, a hook is any
Money.
melody is money. A hook is any melody that's memorable. So that can be an
Yeah.
instrumental hook. It can be any melody that conveys an emotion, and it's repetitive because people want to either sing along with it or feel that line come back again. So uh, it's important for a lot of songs to have that balance of
Yeah.
a very open playing field for the verses, and then that chorus, that's when you bring it home, and you give them the listener something that is easy to fall into, because the
Yeah.
verses can be very, they should be anyway. The verses should be much less of that specific melody. I like verses to be like anything else in music. You're talking about tension and resolution.
Hmm.
So if your music plays up to that idea of I'm leading you towards this level of tension and release, um, music is also very fun to deny the listener that release and take them somewhere else to create more tension.
Yeah.
So I like to do that musically and lyrically as well. That's when you have these rhymes. Maybe you establish a rhyming pattern and then you deliberately pull people out of that, especially if the lyrics warrant a sense of being ripped out of the story. It adds impact for me. So it's creating a sense of expectation and either fulfilling it or denying it as a way of building and releasing tension
Hmm.
throughout the arc of the song. It's like a story in a film or a book where you're creating these moments and these roller coaster ups and downs until you hit one or two peaks
Yeah.
that are solid, and then you bring it back down and you strip things bare and you let things kind of percolate and then build up again. Or there's a million different ways to do it, but it's all about creating tension, resolution, expectation, and fulfillment, and then breaking those rules, breaking those expectations
Yep.
draws people in. But there has to be a purpose. Like the lyrics should warrant, I'm telling you a story here, and here's the breaking part in the story. Well, I'm going to screw up something in the rhyme scheme or the lyrics, or something's going to be challenging um, to your ear as well as emotionally. So there's more impact. So the
Yeah.
song might have an accent on the on the guitar or the drums, and there might be something that kind of makes it cohesive. But I like to have those things tied together.
Yeah, that happens with novels too and stories where like there has to be tension, there has to be resolution to that
Right?
tension. It has to but then you gotta play with it and stuff. And I like what you're saying about like, that chorus kind of brings everybody back to the moment, to the truth, to the emotion. Sort of like every Bon Jovi song. We all know the first verse, but then we only know the chorus.
Right? Like, you know what? I don't care about Tommy and Gina anymore. Shut up.
Yeah.
Get me back to the umwa, umwa.
Wah, 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 right? But even that's like a musical theme that brings us back. Um, that's funny. Uh, now, it's interesting that you say that. Like, I've always kind of pushed back against that tradition where
I
when
know.
I write,
I know.
well,
I
you've heard it.
remember. I
You've heard
remember
it.
20 years ago having the discussion with you. You're like, I hate choruses. I hate
Yeah,
hooks.
I
And I'm
can't. I
like,
can't.
dude, I don't know what to tell you. That you're not going to sell any records.
Well, that's not true. We did pretty well. At least I did. But the thing is, like, I looked at choruses sort of like it brought the audience back to what just happened, because I wrote stories,
Right.
musical stories. So the chorus was going to sort of sum up what just happened. So the chorus would always be musically the same, but sometimes I would make the lyrics different because of the context of what the new thing that happened in verse 2, 3, or 4, right? But sometimes if I left the lyrics the same, the context of the chorus has changed based on the verses previous to it.
Interesting. So you're playing off of expectations as well. Your
Yes.
chorus is expected to be a certain way, and you want to make sure that you are playing, you're denying that expectation.
Yep.
Were you doing that intentionally to create tension, or was that just your way of kind of thumbing your nose at the system and saying, I don't want to write a chorus?
No, no, it was
I'm doing my way.
to be fair, I do like choruses, but I think they should have, because I come from story writing. I'm not a lyricist first. I came from story, I started in comic books, and
Right.
I always wanted to be a writer, and I looked at all the songs, the lyrics as stories. So I wanted the choruses to have a purpose beyond, like, let's bring everyone together to go shout to the heart, and like, I didn't, that wasn't my, like, I that wasn't what I was doing. I was trying to create theater.
Right.
And obviously you've heard my music back then in the day. It was very theater, like,
Very theatrical. Yes.
and so I liked the chorus having a more story element to it. But even with that said, again, if the lyrics were identical, if you listen to the verses, it could change the meaning of the chorus as well, because it summarizes everything that has happened up to that
Mm, okay.
point. So I like to have fun.
That's definitely interesting. I don't write songs in that way because my storytelling is much more vague.
Hmm.
So I when I get to a chorus and it's not linear, I can pull that moment and leave that alone as just what it is. I
Yeah.
don't have a connection to the line as much. It doesn't play that big a part. Although, the verse one into the first chorus, there certainly has to be a linear progression there because it
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't make any sense otherwise. But for whatever reason, I'm comfortable bringing that chorus back after the second verse and at the end of the song after a lead or a break of some sort.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting how everyone has their method, right? And,
Yeah.
and that's what makes music and writing so fascinating is everyone's going to do their own thing, and you can resonate with it, and it can be like,
Hmm.
wow, that I never looked at it that way before, or you can be like me with some things. I would never discount and be like judgmental and say, oh, that's just crap. It's
Hmm.
just like, it's not for me. It wasn't made for me. So if I want to criticize a pop star, I remember being a kid, and
You were a kid?
yeah, and boy was I a snob. I was a horrible prog snob as a kid. And I
No.
used to, I was so mean to my friends that liked Madonna and Richard Marx. And then one day I was like, who am I kidding? Like, I grew up in the 80s. I loved Duran Duran. I loved
Oh,
Kaji
yeah.
Goo Goo. And I couldn't admit, I even liked the Culture Club, and I couldn't admit it to myself, let alone to any of my heavy metal friends. And it's like, Boy George was like the worst thing in the world. You're like, what is this guy doing? It's horrifying. And the music's soft and weird. And it's like, it's great. Culture Club is great music. Like, and I denied myself, that pleasure because I had to be a snob about it. But it's like,
Yeah.
I came to terms like, this is my friend Michelle, who loves Rush as much as I do, and she loves Culture Club. So she's getting the same amount of enjoyment. Who am I to judge that and say it's not valid? I had to mature past that and just say, look, this is why I don't like it. And I'll tell you why structurally I find this music offensive.
Hmm.
But if it makes you feel the same way I feel about my music, it's the same thing. It's the same energy. It's the same, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think it's fair to, kind of tease people too much
Yeah.
about their poor choices and what they consume. But at the same time, it's like, I bring up Taylor Swift again. She drives me crazy. I can't stand her writing. I think her lyrics are appalling.
Oh,
But
she writes?
yeah,
Oh,
well, no one knows she doesn't.
oh, she doesn't have a team of 10 people?
Seriously,
Oh, sorry, sorry.
you'll get my wife in trouble.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you're watching all the film footage of these teenage girls going to see this movie that she put out. $93 million she made on the opening, week. And these girls are so moved and they're so emotionally feeling this music.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't feel that way because I'm not a teenage girl. I'm a
Yeah.
57-year-old fat white dude, So
Listening to Dream Theater.
it doesn't connect with me, and it's not supposed to connect with me.
Yeah.
So I can't criticize. Like, I can tell you why artistically and structurally I find her lyrics appalling and the music's boring, whatever. But who gives a shit what I think? It's like, it's not made for me. It's
Yeah.
made for my son is 14. It's made for his group of friends. And it's like and that's the way it is with all forms of music that I don't like.
Yeah, but even to
I don't
that.
It's not made for me. So why am I criticizing it? It's not
Oh,
valid for me to criticize.
Taylor Swift is definitely made for you. You just haven't found your truth. He's gonna find me and beat me up now. And Paul is much taller than I am.
I'm much more tired than you are.
Yeah, but to that point, I've gotten to discussions where I go, look, just because somebody likes something doesn't make it good, but just because it's bad doesn't make it your opinion on it not valid. Like, you can like bad stuff. I
Yes.
love a lot of bad stuff.
Yes.
But if it doesn't work within the rules of what makes something good, it means it's bad. But that's why some art where it's like abstract art became interesting, because they were breaking the rules and creating their own rules,
Right.
and people connected to that. But now there are abstract rules, and if you're an artist and they're like, you're not following the abstract rules, and they're like, oh, they get mad because they're doing something different, and
Right.
people like, but that's bad, and you're like, yeah, but I like it.
Yep.
But it's evolving the process. And even with writing, like, people like, Tolkien did it. You're like, Tolkien did it like 80 years ago.
Right.
And the process of writing has changed
Yeah.
to where today he might get published, but there would be a lot of notes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So it's the same thing with music. Like, you and I, we're probably massive Dream Theater fans. We're both prog heads, even though I write Doom. Yeah.
Love Doom.
Yeah, Doom. Yeah. Well, you were in what, Skies Falling? What was it called?
Gray Skies Falling. Yes.
Yeah. That was like Doom. That was Doom.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doom is prog Doom is where I sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you should listen to my new band, Drift into Black.
I do listen to your band.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, I listen to everything you do, Paul. I've always been a fan of my friends. I support them, just like you support this show, right? Like,
Yep.
Right? What episode is this?
I don't know. I don't have my glasses.
My eyes fell out. I'm going through a tunnel.
Let me backtrack and evade this question. I find it interesting what you said about that good and bad is objective, and that's the thing too. It's like, you can argue to a point what makes music good or bad, because there are certain rules that make music more interesting than not. But those rules are really subjective as to how they're applied and how effective they are. So it's very hard for me to say hard and fast across the board what's good and bad, but I can tell you what I think is good and bad and why. I'm very specific why I would think Dark Side of the Moon is art.
Yeah.
There's a million different reasons that album to me is art, and I don't consider most music to me is not art.
Yeah.
Art it conveys a certain level of intellect and craftsmanship and emotional and intellectual kind of connection. Like, art in music to me is so elevated that very few people hit art. It doesn't mean their music isn't good or enjoyable, but good and bad is like, who gets to be the gatekeepers and decide that? It's like, I don't think anybody can across the board do that. All you can do is say, I think this is bad for my opinion because here are all the ways it fails to live up to my expectations. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah, I mean, for I will say, Pink Floyd is like painting by notes. Like that's why they're art. They're breaking the rules. They're doing the abstract thing where rules were applied to music, and they were like, let's break the rules and play with the rules and create a new thing.
Right.
But to do a little pushback, again, you can like something that is structurally bad, but you could also hate something that is structurally good. For example, all most successful pop music is structurally good,
Absolutely. If it's
right?
selling, it's well constructed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's following all the rules. It's
Right.
it's doing your traditional, intro, verse, chorus, bridge,
Yep.
something instrumental moment, and then your outro, right?
Yeah.
And but also there are certain rules that make music good. For example, if you do pattern interrupts, because like if you maintain the same theme the whole way through, it's not a good song because it's not pulling your brain. It's not creating pattern interrupts, and you need those. So a lot of times in prog metal, what happens? It'll change drastically the rhythm, or it'll do a hard stop, and then it'll just have the piano going, right? So those are pattern interrupts, but that's good writing. But that doesn't mean people have to like that song.
Got it.
So that's when I say I believe it's objectively good or bad based on just the standards of writing and the rules of writing. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean it's good,
Right.
as in like I like it, right? And
Right.
I think
Would
that's important because I had an
you
argument with
well,
someone.
then would you separate that into well constructed then? It's well put together, but it might not be a good song because it doesn't reach that level of connection, because that's the missing
Yeah.
element sometimes is like, I don't resonate with it. It doesn't move me, right? So it's like
But in
that
that sense, I might say that I like this song or I don't like this song, but me liking or not liking a song doesn't take away from it being good or
bad.
bad. I
Yes,
had this conversation with someone. I was like, "This song is not good,"
but I
and they're
like
like, "I love this song." I was like, "Well, that is
that doesn't
valid.
right?
You can love the song, but it's not doing anything.
Right.
But it's very popular. A bad song can be. That's why punk was huge. Nothing about punk is good writing, but it's
I
excellent.
disagree with you.
Well, it's good breaking of the rules to make something new. That's an example of abstract art coming from like, the 50s. You had your very like your 135s or 136s, and everyone's like, that's how you write a song. And then someone's like, no, let's make it a little bit this or
Right?
so
Substitute.
breaking the rules are good,
Yeah.
you
But
know.
again, that goes back to my thought on denying an expectation.
Yeah.
So if you develop these rules that work for a certain period of time, and everyone gets tired of it,
Yep.
so that's your expectation, and people are waiting for the next thing. So you break that rule, and instead of 145, you throw in a different chord here or there.
Yeah.
That's when things start to shift into the new wave of things.
And that's where old people like you and I were like, this music's terrible.
Get off my lawn.
Get on my lawn, kid. This
Get,
is the devil's
get
music.
out of my tree.
Sir, you're on my lawn. What? Oh, I have dementia. Sorry.
That's always my lawn.
Used to be in the 1930s. Well, I like to do the show for about an hour. So since we have about 20 minutes left, I'm going to bring up some of your lyrics and maybe we could talk about them.
Great. I would love to.
All right. Now, if I make fun of them, I'm just doing it to keep the show entertaining.
Oh, well, then I'm going to be horribly offended. 'Cause no one ever makes fun of my music.
Why not? No. Let me see if I can pop this on the other side. Does that make you okay or
I
uncomfortable?
do. I can see that just fine.
All right. And then I could take away that. Okay. So I love that you sent me Tree because this was one of the first songs where I actually was like, is he singing about a damn tree? Because like you announced the song, you're like, this song is called Tree. And I was like, I'm in. I am in.
I'm in. It's a song about a tree.
Yeah. And just for the record, because people aren't listening to the music, the song begins with Paul singing, playing guitar by himself, then adding some keyboards. The band is sitting, he has like 18-piece band basically, because they're a prog band, and they're all sitting there drinking, picking their noses. Well, Paul is a one-man band. And I was like, this is what I need to do. I need to write a song where the first 8 minutes is me. And then like the
Are you
band
a
sort of
Leo? Are you?
goes,
Were you born in August?
I am an Aries. I am a strong Aries.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
a
interesting.
April 6th,
All
1978.
right. No wonder we
Uh,
get along.
yeah, well, we have the same brain. We
Yeah,
we don't we don't take things to heart, and we could make jokes.
most of the
Um,
time.
yeah, most of the time.
Maybe.
So, but let's let me. Would you consider this close enough to the screen? I think that's fair enough. Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, I'm good. Let's talk about this.
All right.
This was written back in college in 1987, and the riff, the chord pattern is borrowed slash stolen from a Buffalo band called Elk.
Okay.
And they had a song called The Elk Machine that heavily influenced this. Very big, kind of goth, huge open sound. And the lyrics were written about my one of my housemates and his girlfriend. So what had happened is my this girl was very popular in college, just gorgeous, long brunette, curly hair. And my friend, I don't want to give names because I don't
Yeah, that's
want
fine.
to
I mean,
embarrass,
he was ugly. We
my
get
my friend was extremely popular, like a very beautiful young man, effeminate, very slim and fair, and so the two of them made a really lovely couple. But as soon as they started dating, he started taking her for granted and kind of
Mm,
treating her, and she became very childlike around him and baby talked him and waited on him hand and foot. And the whole thing was just this train wreck of a relationship that the rest of us in the house were like really just disgusted by. And like we had a lot of judgmental things to say about it. But that's where the song gets its lyrical.
sass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you say, just to clarify, she waited on him hand and foot. So, may I have her number?
Not like that anymore.
Oh, yeah, well, ignore the question. Can I reach? Can I
She was,
reject?
she was 22, so that I think this relationship maybe helped her outgrow some of that. But
Yeah, she grew into a tree and set her roots.
no, but the reason this is called tree, it's the tree of knowledge because
Okay.
there was like an Adam and Eve quality about their young love that once they partook of the fruit and could see what they were kind of doing, it poisoned everything. So that's the general
Okay.
look overall look of it, and that's what for me the music perfectly inspired the lyrics, and then the lyrics told this story about this couple.
Okay. And if I may, I'm assuming this is a verse. Uh, Actually, you know what I'm gonna do, because I want it to be people to see. Just boop. Okay. Whoa, whoa. That is not what I wanted. Paul, ignore the technical difficulties.
I am.
Listen, on this show, we show that things can happen, and we can't help it. I'm assuming this is a verse, and then this is the chorus.
Let's see. I'm looking at my own version here. Show me again.
So
Yes,
yeah,
this is the chorus. And why can we never seem to say the right thing in its moment? Yes,
so
that's
this
the
song
chorus.
is three choruses, or and one verse,
Yeah, it looks that way.
and that's why I hate choruses.
Right? It's just like a all chorus.
It's, there is not
What
only
else
is
do
there
I
no
put in the
story.
song? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a long. It was like
Not
8 minutes
It's like
before
an
the
8-minute
band
song
came in.
or 3 choruses and nothing else. I don't know.
Is
Yeah,
that
so that first verse just basically tells the story about them. She's waiting for him and he's out in the bars or whatever.
yeah?
And then, why can we never seem to say the right thing in its moment? That's the chorus. And that's how
Okay.
I felt about them. And yeah, I can't
Yeah,
believe
yeah, that's interesting.
no, wait. All right. After the Lord I sings cacophony in that first chorus, one heart breathes, one suffocates. There's your verse too.
Oh, okay. You don't do you don't do this.
There, thank you. Yeah, for some reason,
Oh,
when it was
maybe when
sent
I
to the
copy and
printer,
paste.
now it looks like a song.
Where is it? Where it sings? Oh, all right. Now here
There
we
we go.
go.
That's the third verse. I was wondering.
All right. There we go. There we go.
I
All
thought I
right. All
wrote
right.
this a little better constructed.
Okay. All right. Well, now we're in. Now we're in. Now it's a song. Now it's a full. Okay. Feels good now.
Now I
I was
got
like,
a
Paul, what's
comparison
going
for a
on here?
moment. I was
Yeah,
embarrassed.
yeah. It's poetry.
Yes. So here's my favorite line out of this whole thing is, one heart breathes and one suffocates. In this parade of stifling, I will not holiday.
Oh, down here.
So I love how that fell together, um, because a lot of this is that kind of soft, one heart breathes and one suffocates. You have all these kind of F's and S's and parade of stifling. It's still very soft and, but it's like, I will not holiday means I'm not going to celebrate this. Holiday is, a British to, I'm going
Yeah,
on a holiday. I'm going, right. I
go.
will not
Yeah, I'm
holiday. I
going
will not
away.
celebrate what's happening here. So I like that juxtaposition of those poetic elements, with a very awkward series of words here. This parade of stifling. Like, what does that mean? It's like, it's just this endless succession of feeling like you can't breathe around them. But I'm not going to celebrate that. It doesn't make me
Yeah.
feel good. So I like doing things like that that are kind of playing off the expectations. It's like a basketball layup. You're going to the hoop and it's soft, soft, soft. And then this awkward kind of weird, like who would say that in normal speech? It's like, that's not how people talk to each other,
Yeah,
but
they're
it
so
pulls you,
flustered.
yeah, it pulls you out of the story and makes you pause. It's a pattern interruption, like you were saying.
Yeah, and you're doing it with themes and vocal, like the actual lyrics themselves instead of the music.
Yeah.
Now I have a question though about your process here. Now I notice it's 4 lines, except for the top. It's 4 lines for a verse, and then a chorus. 4 lines for a verse. Were you inspired by Metallica's "Load"?
Are you saying this is a load of crap? Is that what you're
No, no, no. I'm
insinuating?
just saying. They're like, I entered the room and I was angry, and then it does the chorus, and then it comes back and goes,
No,
my hair was cut and I wear eyeliner, and then they go to the chorus. You know what I'm talking about? The thing
yes,
that should
I know
not
what
be.
you're talking about, jerk. No, so the song, if no one has heard it, I'm sure, because I've sold 3 copies of this damn album.
See,
Uh,
choruses. I thought they sell records. What's
Not
the
this one, apparently.
boom?
Get off my lawn. Um, those
Try no
those
choruses.
yeah, those patterns weren't thought out. It's the chord pattern of the verse is 3 chords.
Yeah,
And it's just bum, 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 and it's like, bells gonging. So the lyrics go in between gong, 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 and the lyric flows and it passes, and then the chords come in again, and then the next line goes. So it wasn't like I didn't count lines or anything like that. It's just where the spaces for words came up, I put the words in there.
no, I remember because the way you used to play it, you like do these like strum, these very structured. So you'd be like, brown, brown,
Yes.
brown.
Very theatrical, right?
Yeah, but then you would like hold the keyboard notes,
Yeah, that was
and then you're like,
wonderful.
one heart breathes, and one suffocates,
Now
and
you
then
sound like the band from F is for Family. Bill Burr's son's band, the Wizard Band there.
yeah, yeah,
And then she came down the hill in the valley. Yeah, hopefully mine isn't that.
no,
Mine's better than that, damn it.
absolutely. This is a seller. This one is one day it will sell. I see it. Give it another 10 or 15 years. It's
All
been
right.
what, 20?
No, this was re-released a year and a half ago,
Yeah,
and the album was named the album of the year from Transcending the Mundane magazine in 2022. So
yeah.
very proud of that.
So what you're saying is this song was actually the last track. They listened to the first track and awarded you
Yeah, I think that's how it went.
The first song was so good, we don't need to listen. There's no way there's a bad song on this album.
Right?
Imagine that happening. Not saying I actually like this song because every time I see you, I was like, I still remember Tree. So it had an impact on me to remember it.
I think this one, compared to your writing style, is as close to your kind of epic storytelling. I think that's why you like it. It's most similar to what you do
Actually,
compared to everything
I'll
else.
tell you exactly why I like it.
Tell me what.
And it seems like I'm making a joke, but I'm not. I really did enjoy the fact that it was just so simple, and then it just became something big. as if, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I like taking time with music sometimes, and that to me was interesting, where it was guitar, and then it was like guitar or piano, and then, like, the band slowly came in, and then it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, in a kind of built, like, almost like a whatchamacallit, what's the thing where it keeps building on itself? It's like, not that it's the same part over and over,
A
and
fugue,
a few, yeah, like it had that kind of fugue feel to it without it being a traditional fugue.
right?
And some people forget that simplicity is not bad,
Right?
because
Yeah.
I think the lyrics were actually the most important element in the song, and the music itself probably was the thing that was kind of guiding the emotion.
Right?
If I was to not make a joke and be sincere about it, I kind of really, I wasn't bored. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would think, like, he's just hitting three chords. Like, it was interesting to see it progress from itself.
Well, thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad that that's one song over the years. It's long, it's challenging to listen to, it's slow,
Mhm.
but it does take you on a bit of an emotional journey, and that's what I was
Yeah.
shooting for.
I wouldn't compare it to my songs
No, I'm just saying it's
because I talk about killing yourself.
yeah,
But
out of everything I do, I think that this song is most similar to what Tenabra would have been.
well, Tenebra, yeah, like the conversion to Altanian and the way I write now which is crazy that it's been longer than I've ever been in
Yeah,
Tenebra. But yeah, Tenebra was an interesting experience.
it
All right.
was.
Maybe for
I
you,
always
Paul.
enjoyed it.
I appreciate that. I always felt, I was like, these guys aren't enjoying us. We're like doom metal, just doom. The death of us. Doom, doom, doom. And that's one progression.
Yeah.
You know, and it's 10-minute songs. And what's funny is when we started adding like thrash elements and started becoming a little bit more progressive. That was when I was actually enjoying myself, because, like, I like playing the guitar. So, like, holding chords is cool and everything. And it was like thematic. You could be like, you could, really entertain
Air,
people when you're
right?
not focused on like, but,
Yes.
but I kind of I like seeing music kind of transposed into my mind, like almost like it was dancing in the air. And
Yes.
to me, that was the fun part, not, just anyway.
There's a couple bands that do that really well, and I find there are melodies that are created out of the noise,
Oh yeah.
and I've only heard it 2 or 3 times, and it's usually in a large proscenium theater, that a
Mm.
very high space above the stage. So when I went to see Mercury Rev
Okay.
way back at Irving Plaza, they had this sparkling effect above this noise where I could hear melodies start to be created in the upper harmonics.
Mm.
I've heard it at the Melvin show. Melvins have this wash of noise that it just beautifully creates this tapestry in the air way up high. You start hearing things, just melodies start to fall out of the air.
Yeah.
And a band called Cloud Kicker, which one of my favorite bands right now. I highly, highly recommend Cloud Kicker.
Cloud Kicker. Are they independent, or are they a band that's like
They
making the rounds?
they have, I don't know if they're signed, but they have a bunch of albums out. They're very well produced, all instrumental guitar music. And it's a one-man band kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I forget his name, Ben something. He's a genius. He toured with Intronaut, and we opened for them. One of my bands opened for them at the Chance, and I was like, it's 10 o'clock. I want to go home. I'm tired, and from the first song, I was glued to the front of the stage, and
That's all.
just the sounds, the textures that came out of this with no words, the
Yeah.
emotions that came out of that music for me were like stellar. But when you say like just seeing the notes in the air, I've actually I know what that means. Where it's like
Yeah.
I don't have synesthesia, but
Yeah.
I've constructed random melodies out of nothing. I've heard things coming through the ether, like
Yeah.
where is that melody coming from?
Which is, yeah, that's the best, where it's just,
Yes.
it sounds like a collection of notes that are just making one thing, but then you can really hear It's so much more, and the music becomes ethereal and
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
because but have you ever listened to the Altanian stuff that I put out? I know it's been
It's
like
been a while. No, I'm very sorry to say I haven't.
that's good. I don't listen to it either.
I've
I
been busy. I've had a son, you know, I've been
yeah.
raising a boy for 14 years. I haven't even listened to my own music.
Oh, I had a moon. I had
You
a
know?
moon, and I actually don't even listen to my music when I record it. I just I just think it, and I just hope it worked out, you know, because I don't want to. No, the Altanian stuff is more like it's less straight doom and like with this, you know, and more like musical. I would say it's more theatrical in the sense of like musical theater,
Right?
but heavy and progressive, and it's so it's fun stuff like that. But anyway, this song I like a lot. This is probably one of your bigger songs. It's you Soul Forge. The beginning of the song is just great. And then like it's sort of like it's playing with like rhythms, and then out of nowhere it's like you know, you do this. And I always remember you having the fan with the lights and your hair
Yes.
just like blowing in the air, like you know you're on a motorcycle or something,
Yes.
or you know, or you got hit by a car and you're on the hood, you know. And it was just like this intense, like you know. So this is a pretty good song. Just so I can, is this the chorus? Drawn through the womb. Is that the start of the chorus?
No, that's the start of the first pre-verse. Let me see.
All right, yeah, because I want it to at least make sense visually.
Yeah, let's see. So all the stuff here in caps is me screaming.
Hmm.
So this is all the lead up to the first verse. So drawn through an armless man is the start of the first verse.
Okay.
So all that stuff there, I don't even know how to really
You know what I could do?
describe what what parts of the song they are, but those are pre-verse and don't ever come back.
Well, yeah. Welcome back is its own thing. An
Mhm.
armless man. The that those who wait,
Yep.
and then Soul Forge is the chorus. And Soul Forge.
There you go. The Soul Forge is the first chorus right there.
Yeah, yeah. Where is that?
Yeah,
Where is
I
it?
don't know why they all kind of got grouped together. I think that was for the CD. They just kind of ran all the
No,
lyrics.
no, no. You sent it to me right. It's just when I copied and paste,
Oh, all
apparently.
right. I'm like, I'm wondering why they weren't.
Yeah, you know, this isn't on you. We're not judging you. We're judging me right now for not doing the right
All
thing,
right.
doing right by you. I apologize. Please don't hate me and unfollow me
Well,
on
not for
social.
that anyway.
That's fair.
All right. So now you got it the way it was written.
Yeah, all right.
All
So
right.
this is yeah. So it goes self destruction, submission, and then it's like it goes like really crazy, right? So, yeah, that's good. Um, so you're saying this is a pre-chorus thing or
It's a pre-verse.
oh pre-verse,
Yep.
pre-verse? Oh, so it's dirty
Pre-verse.
minded.
Very pre-verse.
It's a pre-verse.
It's pre-voice.
It's pre-voice.
It's the Jackie Mason vision. It's pre-voice.
It's a pre-voice. Um, did you think this song through to capture a very specific thing or
Absolutely, yes. This followed my first divorce.
excellent?
So the
I mean,
image
not for the divorce, but to say.
the imagery here of an armless man going swimming at low tide and being drowned in shallow water. Those are the lyrics. Describe my sense of failure and impotence to keep my marriage alive. And that pain is what makes this song so angry.
Yeah.
There's so much about this that deal with that loss and that breakup. So this is actually on the cover of the CD. There's a painting of an armless man going into the tide.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that to me just captures exactly how I felt in the years following that divorce. Um, so that's what this is about.
Can I ask a question about was that anger that's in the music not directed towards the divorce or the failure of the divorce, but of how you were looking at yourself maybe as like you failed and you
Yeah.
were angry at yourself. So it wasn't like external anger, it was internal anger.
It was mostly self internalized and directed at myself, but
Mhm.
there's plenty of anger to go around. There's definitely let's see, where is it?
I'm scrotuming down. I'm scrotuming down. Scrotum down. Scrotum down. Is it?
Yeah, so that's the bridge, and that's where things break and things soften up there. But before that, I'm singing about what I followed can't reach me
Yeah.
now, can't cut through the stench of my violence. That's like my loss of faith, my loss of connection with Christianity. I've been scarred and sodomized. You've got to find out for yourself and follow no one else. So that all kind of plays on my disappointment and how life had turned out, my loss of faith, my feeling isolated from my the comforts of having a religion that you connect to. All those things were happening all at the same time, and that's kind
Jesus
of what the
Christ.
right, yeah. So that's kind of what the Soul Forge embodies, is that
Ah,
your soul is in this fiery furnace of being broken down and rebuilt.
okay.
So that's where it all comes from. And then after all this anger and everything, this bridge section in the wide open sun painted places where everybody knows and everyone can see we're not the same, but we're not alone in this song and dance, that I come to terms with it afterwards, that there's a break in this. The clouds open and the sun shines again, and then there's a sense of being connected with humanity again. So that's the journey of the song. It starts being very vicious and very angry. The lyrics and the vocal effects are all screaming and guttural, but by the time you get to this section here with the beautiful piano and everything, it's very elegant and airy at this point. So that's
So
where I take the journey there.
it's basically what is it? The 12 stages of grief, like by the end.
Hero's journey.
Yeah, yeah. The hero's journey. That's right. I've returned to a world I don't know anymore, but I've grown 3 inches tall. Okay. All right. So that's interesting. And then it does 18 choruses out. No.
Right.
Now, let's see. You do 3 choruses. Look at that. You do like a chorus, right? But also after this verse, isn't there like an instrumental, or is it after this chorus?
It's after that chorus, before this bridge section. So there is an instrumental section there.
Yeah.
And then if you notice, you being the hater of choruses, my choruses are slightly different. They're not the same
Oh
lyrics
yeah,
every
we got
time,
bottle hate, and then is bottled life. All right, okay. What we got here?
right?
This one looks the same as the last one, though.
Well, the difference between, let's
Uh,
see,
I don't know, Paul. This one's
maybe all right,
identical.
all right, your editor's eye.
Yeah, I
All right, the first and last is
identical. Identical. That's my cousin Vinny.
you found,
Identical.
and I'm through with this one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm through with this one. I do have a question though. Now, when I would write instrumental moments in songs, the instrumental was an extension of not only the lyrical context, but it was playing around with what was happening in the song. But now there's no lyrics. Was that something that the band would do musically, where you'd be like, "Look, this is where we are emotionally. If let's not just do an instrumental for an instrumental's sake. Let's have it have purpose." Was that a conversation that you had, or they were just like, "Look what I could do"?
No, what happened with that band? I was 34 at the time. My guitarist was 16. The drummer and bass player were 19. The keyboardist was 18, I think, and the
Yeah.
in Pando, the leader was maybe 21. So the difference in intensity, about how much time we had to get this accomplished, was radically different.
Yeah.
So Dave in particular, the late Dave Z,
Dave Zeeb, yep, yep.
was very, very interested in exploring every angle of a song, and he really enjoyed it. And he lived at home
Yeah.
with his parents. So for him to spend 3 or 4 hours in the studio in the Rockaways that took me 2 hours to get there and back, I didn't want to do that. And we had differences of again, intensity of how fast this needed to move.
Yeah.
So during the writing process, I kind of removed myself from it for everyone's benefit. because I was a taskmaster. I was like, no, 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 we're not playing 5 different bass lines. Just play what you practice, and that's it. Dave would come up with these brilliant ideas after several weeks and months. But again, he and the other guys in the band still live with their parents, so they had the luxury of doing that. And when I came in to add lyrics and some final production touches at the end, I would add a little, an accent here or there, or I would, there were just little things that I would do structurally at the end of
Yeah.
songwriting, but I had no idea what their process was, and I didn't want to know. I was like, when you guys are done with a song and you're not going to make any more freaking changes, send me a cassette and I'll come to rehearsal with all the lyrics done. It's
Yeah.
like, that's how I move quick. Get
Yeah.
the song to me, and within a week I'll have the lyrics, and the song's done.
Yeah.
And
I'll
these,
shave my eyebrow and
and
I'll
I'll see
show
my
up.
eyebrow, and that's the end of it. But they like to really uh play around with things, and I can't argue with the results. I think they came up with some brilliant arrangements,
Yeah.
but I don't know why they added instrumental sections here or there. If it was, Chalky was 16. Who knows what he was
That was the
thinking?
guitarist, right?
Yeah, 16 years old, and he could play like John Petrucci. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I didn't really question his methods. I was
He
like,
was tall too, though. Like he
very
was
tall.
tall like you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's my size.
But he also didn't he end up in like a death metal band after October Thorns? Like,
No, Joe Fu played with another one of our compatriots.
yeah.
And we shared a studio with a band called Transcend.
Hmm.
And the guitar player was John. And Joe was the drummer. I
Oh
forget.
yeah, John from Mage's Beast.
No, Big
Oh,
John, they called him.
oh.
John was this big guy, and he played it was great. Transcend was phenomenal, but they were very much a literal thorn in our side because Fu was splitting his time between the two bands,
Mm,
and we were like, dude, we're trying to get signed, and
yeah.
I can't have you putting on your resume or playing at the same festival with this other band. We were always fighting, like, image wise, it's too soon for you to be in 2 different bands.
Mm,
I don't want us to get signed. We can't get signed because the label's going to say, oh, your drummer's not committed. Like, there were just a lot of fights, but Fu played in an amazing death metal band
yeah.
that unfortunately didn't last any longer than we did. And then he went to Zandelle.
Hmm.
And then after maybe 2 or 3 years, I joined Zandelle briefly.
I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
Had a lot of fun with it, but I was also touring with Chris Caffery. So there were a lot of difficulties trying to make all of it work.
I have a funny Chris Caffery joke. Not joke, a story. A story.
Uh-oh. Don't
Keep
get
in
me in
mind,
trouble with the
I
boss.
like Chris Caffery.
Don't get me in trouble with the boss. I want to go on tour again someday.
No, I like Chris Caffery, and of course, I like Sabotage. And this isn't an insult or this will not deface who he is as a character, but it is a funny moment. So, Dan, the drummer from Tenebra, was online waiting to go to the bathroom. And I believe we were at L'Amour's, but it might be the Voodoo Lounge. But I'm going to go with L'Amour's because that seems a little bit more, if I remember correctly. And Dan's sitting online, whatever. And Chris Caffery comes over and he's standing behind Dan. And like, there's maybe like 3 or 4 people. And Chris like taps on his shoulder. He's like, you think I could go before you? Because I got to go to the bathroom. And he's like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom too. And he goes, but I'm Chris Caffery. That's what he does like that. And Dan's like, oh, by all means, you could go after me. That's what he says.
I can see him doing that too. He's a funny guy, man. He really is. He's like, but yeah, hey, I'm come on.
He didn't do it like, hey, I'm Chris Caffery.
No,
like,
right? I know.
Very funny though. Very
yeah.
Chris
Caffery. When I visited him upstate a couple years ago, many years ago at this point, we were learning some material, and his cat was even funny. He had this cat that came up to me, and I'm trying to talk to Chris about parts, right?
Yeah.
So the cat comes over to me on my arm, and it goes like this. It goes tap, tap, tap. Like 3 taps with his paw.
Yeah.
Tap, tap, tap. And I go, oh, hey, buddy, how you doing? So I love cats. So I'm petting him. Oh, you're a good cat. And I got work to do. And I turn back to Chris with the guitar, and the cat goes, no, like, seriously, tap, tap, tap. And he's like,
you're on my time.
Like, I've never had a cat do this specifically 3 taps. Boom, boom, boom. I'm serious. Pat me.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Actually, I have another Chris Caffery story that I think you were there. I think you were there. We were at the Voodoo Lounge, right? And George from Zandelle, Joe Fu, I think TW was on stage. Oh yeah, no, Zandelle was playing. It was a ZO2 show. Like they were closing a night out, ZO2.
Oh,
But Chris Caffery showed up, and Zandelle had learned Jesus Saves
from Sabotage, of
from
course.
Sabotage, and Chris was like, "Yeah, I'll play the song with you." And then Chris is playing the guitar or whatever. He was playing who was the other guy? It was TW and the other guitarist.
I don't remember his name.
I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter.
He's not important.
Yeah, he's ATM, whatever.
It's a joke. It's Anthony Maglio.
Oh, Anthony. That's right. Nicest guy.
No, he's not. Let me tell you a story about Anthony. Anthony, when I left Zandelle, they were really pissed off at me, but I was like, I didn't have the time for it. Yeah. Anthony and George did an interview where TW had played the majority of the rhythm parts and I played half the leads.
Yeah.
Anthony claimed in the interview that he played all the guitar parts.
Oh, for one of the recordings.
Yes, for Vengeance Rising. Or no, the other one. I don't even remember. Yeah. So I called him on it the next time I saw him. Anthony, you motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, that was earned. That was earned.
That one counted.
That one.
The interview you did, you claimed you played everything. He's like, it's just business. I'm like, you don't do that to,
Yeah, no.
Don't claim credit for something I did. I don't.
Yeah.
I
back in your ambulance.
Yeah, and your ambulance.
But the funny thing, going back to the Chris Caffery.
No, I love Anthony. They're all family to me.
Oh yeah, we're all friends. Everyone. Yeah.
Well, more than friends, they're family because you can still hate them, but you have to love them because they're family.
Yeah. And I mean, just because George wouldn't have a child with me doesn't mean I have to dislike him. It was a hard time, the pandemic, and we were just like, what do we do? And we looked at each other, children, and neither one of us could get pregnant. It was no matter how hard we worked at it.
He's married. Stop it.
Oh, well, yeah, she was a little upset that she caught us a few times, but pandemic, come on, like we were safe because we weren't going out anyway. But so back to the Chris. So it's Zandelle is on stage, and Anthony lets Chris Caffery, or maybe doesn't matter. One of the guitarists.
No way. TW must have given him.
And Chris turns the guitar on, and it's like normal volume, right? But he's just trying to make it louder on the guitar, and then he asks whoever the TW, I guess, he goes, which one is the solo button? And he goes, that one. So then you hear, tss, 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 and he hits the solo button just to do the rhythm. It's like, and it's so loud. You can't even hear the bang. And I was like, that was me.
All right, I got one better than that.
Let me hear.
When we toured with Chris, he brought Ira Black out from Vicious Rumors, and Ira has played with a lot of people, and he's one of the best guitar players I've ever seen, and he's a sweetheart of a guy, but he plays louder than bombs. I've never played with anyone louder than him, and Chris was getting fed up with it. He was like, dude, you got to play rhythm behind me. You can't overpower the whole stage. And Ira just kept on turning up and turning. So one night Chris got duct tape and he taped over all the knobs on Ira's amp. And Ira was like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, dude, don't leave it alone. Don't turn up, But it was so funny just to see his amp all covered in duct tape so he couldn't turn it up.
That's really funny.
Yeah, Chris is a character.
Yeah, it's definitely all in good fun, and just his timing to that was just like, it's this one, but it was like as they were hitting the hi-hats to start the song, he's like,
thank you,
and that's a great song too. But
yeah,
can we try to get in this last song? And,
one last one. We'll do it quick,
and then we'll jump out. I know it's let me see.
Yeah, page one is a great one.
This is a good one. Gardens. But first is, I guess that's the chorus, right? But
that's the chorus.
And then I think the beginning is a long open one page. Okay, so that's right. All right. So first of all, what page one? This is off of the same EP / album as
Yes, this
as
is
a
actually the
soloist, right?
opening track on the Circle Game album.
Yeah.
All right, so this song is a combination of being very self-referential to the birth of the band, and paralleling the birth of my relationship with my ex-wife.
Okay.
So, in this fragile time of beginnings, balances are delicate and intertwined. That is as much about the band as it is about my ex and I. So, we go through that, and your commitment is evident and as deep as a drop in a shallow pool. Again, we're going to like this kind of shallow water imagery that works its way through all the songs on the album. But I'm lashing out at my ex-wife on this, that discarding the vows like the fabric that whisks away the menstrual flow. Basically, she's treating our marriage vows like a used tampon.
Yeah,
It's I
very imagery
see, that's
based.
poetry right there.
Yeah, that's
It whisks away the menstrual flow. Listen to that. Just that line is just,
menstrual,
it
yeah.
just flows off the, it just, chef's kiss.
Yeah,
But, it's about us coming to terms with, our fragile state of a new relationship forming with the band, and about this marriage collapsing, gardens in suburbia and backyard swimming pools, and the talk at the water cooler goes on and on. Surely you could do better. This is her at work. And, she used to work for Lehman Brothers, so
Mhm.
all of her coworkers had homes and second homes in Connecticut and out in the island, and I was very poor. When I first started in the city, I was making $15 an hour working in a lighting shop, so I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not doing well, and we had roaches and mice in our apartment. So
Well, you
that,
lived in Brooklyn.
I lived in the Lower East Side. It was
Oh, yeah.
not,
Oh.
yeah, it was not fun. So that's where this song, it was interesting because I was dealing with all these emotions from the breakup, but at the same time, this band coming together was extremely contentious. There was a
Yeah.
lot of difficulties, a lot of personality issues, um, and so those things kind of turned into this weird Frankenstein lyrically, where they were both equally stressing me out.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. I do wanna actually point, this is a great line. The price of a Judas kiss, will come due in time. So it's interesting. Uh, it almost seems like, you're taking a name, like a name, basically Judas, right? Because you're capitalizing kiss, right?
Oh, well, that's capitalized because the concept of a Judas kiss is a betrayal.
Yeah.
And it's the ultimate betrayal, if you're a Christian, that somebody that was supposedly loved and followed Christ gave him a kiss to identify him and turn him into the Russian soldiers. That the man that I kiss is the one that you're going to take away and crucify.
Yeah.
So this comes out of my ex's, her interaction with her coworkers. When a family's destruction is the company line, this is what's going on at work all day. These people that they were money traders.
Yeah.
They made money off of buying currency from one country, and like gambling that it would
Inflate or
inflate or deflate, or whatever.
yeah.
They're gambling with the country's currencies. Like, I had no respect for that. I think it's awful. It's vampirism and vulturism and its worst kind of stuff. So these are the people that were coloring her opinion of me. So I'm saying to her, the price of a Judas kiss, the price of the betrayal will come due in time. That
Yeah.
somehow you're going to pay for what you did to me.
Did
And of
anyone
course,
get 30 pieces of silver in the
no,
exchange?
I don't. I think she did.
She did. And Judas was Dracula, according to Dracula 2000,
Yeah, I don't
with
buy
Ger-
that.
Gerard Butler.
Is that the movie that Danny was in from 70 show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
movie
Danny
sucked.
Masterson.
Oh God, that was
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, well, he is
Daisy
too.
Fuentes was in it, right?
Who?
Daisy Fuentes. She's beautiful. She's married to Richard Marx.
That I believe so. Oh,
I think
I
so.
believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, Denise Richards.
No, Daisy Fuentes. Denise Richards was married to Tommy or whatever.
Yeah.
Sambora, she was married
She
to,
might
wasn't
be in
she?
it. Well, the doctor from House was in it too. The Michael Epps, he was in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. God,
Yeah.
that movie sucked. Thanks for bringing it up.
Hey, anytime. I like giving my friends nightmares and stuff like that. Oh wait, because it's a little off kilter. I'm gonna delete some of this just so you can read it. All right. There we go. Is this how it ends? It ends with a big
Yep.
yeah, okay.
This is the
Um
beginning of the end.
the beginning of the
Yeah.
It's literally the beginning. It says that this is the beginning of the end.
Yeah, and that's actually borrowed from another band I was in. Von Elmo had a song called "The Beginning of the End," and I referenced that.
Was that a nod to that experience with that band where you were like, "Look,
No,
guys."
it's a nice turn of phrase that I always thought it was interesting. The beginning of the end is a nice little, that's interesting, you know.
Yeah.
So,
The first line to the new fantasy novel that I'm finishing up is it felt like the beginning if it had not started with the air of war.
ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
That's the first line, and that's an exclusive. You just got a
Oh,
nice
on your own show.
yeah, on my own show. You know how the
I got an
prologue
exclusive
begins.
to your work on your show. That's good.
Yeah. There's a guy, a wizard, writing that in his book because he's chronicling his experience, and that's the
Yeah,
first.
that's some solid writing there. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Like it.
The rest of it is all like, he's got nice hair.
Rest was
That's it.
crap at the
Yeah,
beginning
it's
of
all
the
crap. My first lines of every chapter, solid. Everything else, it's about trees.
Well, now you know what kind of tree at least.
Yeah. I know what kind of tree it is. Before we go though, I'll ask you one more question. Then I got to ask you the episode end question. But what about this song made you feel it was done? Like where you were like, this song is ready lyrically and emotionally ready to be recorded. What inside you? Because I asked that about writers too. Like, when do you know this is the final draft and you could just kind of let it go? How did you know it was ready? You have a smile on your face like, it
I
was
know
never ready.
exactly. I remember the moment exactly.
Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
Well, when I joined this band, Chalky was into Nevermore and In Flames,
Oh
and
yeah.
the first couple of shows we played were the Metal Fest, the New Jersey Metal
Oh
Fest.
nice. Yeah.
So we'd only been together, couldn't have been more than 8 months, I think, maybe a year at the most. But I was, like I said, much older than these guys. And, as a Christian, a lot of this music really disturbed me. And people singing gutturally to me felt like it's demonic. And I didn't want anything to do with it. So we would see some of these bands, and I was really put off by it. I was really kind of frightened by it. And then I started to appreciate it. And when I got Dreaming Neon Black and In Flames,
Good.
um,
Yeah.
I think he gave me Horacle maybe. So I started to get it. And I was only singing clean at this point. I was very
Mhm.
much from Yes and Genesis and Rush. Clean high tenor was all I was doing. So I used to sing the line, it's by my own hand that I've been betrayed. It's by my own hand that I've been betrayed. And just
Mhm.
very clean and pleasant. And one day I just let it rip and it was like, betrayed.
Yeah.
And my guitar player, Dave Pando, was literally jumped a foot away from me in shock. And then I knew it's like, I'm onto something. And
Yeah.
I knew that like this one's ready.
This one
I'm
is ready.
and I'm through with this one.
And I'm this
And I'm
one.
through with this one.
And you're like, Lou, you
But
gotta record it.
yeah, that was the start of my journey into more aggressive singing, but it took a minute for me to be open to it because it was the first New Jersey Metal Fest I went to. The first band on stage, the guy was covered in blood with this gauntlet with nails sticking out of it, and he had a sword, and it was all like, I was like, what? I'm in hell, I'm in hell.
Well, it's like when
I
you
got
meet
over it. I got over it.
when you meet what's his name? Barney from
Oh, Napalm, yeah.
and you're like, he's such a sweetheart.
I haven't met him, but I do like his voice, man.
Yeah.
He can
He's
growl.
best friends with James LaBrie from Dream Theater.
No kidding.
Yeah, they wear each other's shirt. Well, back in the day, they would wear each other's shirts on stage
Oh,
while they
that's
played.
fantastic. I didn't know that. That's good
Yeah.
trivia.
That's so funny though, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna remove this. We're gonna bring you up. We'll do one of these real quick for people to see. This is Mr. Paul LaPlaca.
All right, and don't forget to plug my new album.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll do all that in a second.
All
But
right.
I ask every guest this question. All right. What is one piece of advice you discovered about writing, either through someone else or yourself, that completely changed the way you approach the writing process?
I've mentioned it earlier. It's the Leonard Cohen interview where he talks about, like, he wrote Hallelujah. I don't know, 200 different versions of it before he got it where he wanted. Like, the process of re-examining your
Mm,
work, and letting it breathe and leaving it alone for a while and coming it back to it. That to me is incredibly powerful. That it doesn't always come out. It never comes out right the first time. Like, there's a labor to give birth to your stuff that takes effort. And I thought that someone like Cohen, who writes the most beautiful poetry and haunting lyrics, that had some kind of magical superpower, and he does. The
yeah,
magical superpower was, I can work on this 200 different times until I get it right. And that is a superpower, you know. But I just thought it just kind of came to him easily. And it's like, no, he had to sweat blood and tears to get that stuff, you know.
yeah.
So that made a huge impact on me.
And for any writers out there, if you're a lyricist, a poet, whatever the case may be, remember, just because you wrote it doesn't mean it's done. And great writing is rewriting. And
Yes.
so, it's wonderful that you say that and that you were inspired by someone who is successful, who changed, who added to the world of music. And ultimately, you realize, oh, they aren't committed to the first thing that comes out of them. They allow themselves to chisel away and not necessarily quote unquote kill your babies, but find the diamond in the rough. They're willing to chip away at the coal and put some pressure on themselves and create the diamond that everyone agrees. Mr. Paul, Mr. LaPlaca, how do people find you?
I am on Facebook, on just Paul LaPlaca. It's super simple. I'm also at my band. My solo album is underway right now. Um, and it's Critical Consciousness. And you
Mm-hmm.
can find that also on Facebook. And then through those links, I have whatever, current websites are out there will be listed there. I also play with Drift into Black. We're on our fifth album right now that Dan Swano is going to be mixing.
Nice.
So I just finished bass tracks for that. My album is going to be mixed by Alex Argento from Icefish, the Italian prog band, who did the October Thorns CD from 3 years ago.
Oh, the re-release.
Yes,
Yeah, that
he
sounded so
remixed
good.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, that was really good.
yeah,
For anyone who's listening and not watching, Paul LaPlaca is Paul is Paul Paul. LaPlaca is LaPlaca. However, everything I'll have links in the description below, both on the Spotify and also the YouTube. Paul LaPlaca, I consider a very dear friend slash family. Let's call it what it is. I've known
yes.
him longer than I've known myself. You
Pleased to meet me.
yeah, please. And I want to say thank you so very much for being a guest on the show, as always. And I think this was a productive conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone doesn't know who you are, I had the pleasure of working with you on a script writing group together. And I just found you to be, like, shockingly, like, outside of the music business, like, what you brought to elevate these people writing. I have so much respect for you and really appreciate what you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's writing is definitely my passion, and my back appreciates it.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to hold a guitar
Yeah.
or pick things up and put them down. You know what I'm saying?
I love that guy. Picking up, put them down.
For Planet Fitness. All right, man. Thank you again. Love you very much. To everyone out there, as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.